there is no more Epstein files. The saga surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's crime and death in jail has come to an abrupt end. This week, the FBI and US Department of Justice released a memo. It said 3 of the biggest things that many in the world wanted answers to. But these were not the answers that anyone expected. Rather, it was almost a 180-degree turn from the statements made before, and how keenly the current administration was looking at the case files until now. So what are these 3 things? Number 1, nobody killed Epstein. The FBI and DOJ have concluded that Epstein was in fact not murdered. A video study by the agency showed that nobody entered the area of Manhattan prison where Epstein was kept during the time of his death. The video is from August 2019. It covers an almost 8-hour window till the early morning of August 9, 2019, when Epstein was found unresponsive. Now, the memo goes on to say that this footage also supports a medical examiner's earlier findings that the sexual offender died by suicide. Revelation number 2, there is no Epstein client list. Both departments have said that officials found no credible evidence that Epstein maintained a list of clients, essentially individuals who the financier could potentially blackmail. So from the first 2 comes conclusion number 3. The memo also says that nobody else involved in the Epstein case will be investigated, again due to lack of evidence. This twist in the tale has triggered a flood of criticism and questions. But who is the man who long after his death is still making waves? What was the scale and timeline of his crimes? Let's break down the life of a man whose strongest identity now is that of a convict with strong connections. Jeffrey Edward Epstein. Born in Coney Island, New York, Epstein is a man who studied physics in college but did not complete his degree. Jeffrey Epstein first began his career as a school teacher but quickly moved on to make his foray into the Wall Street. For that, his stepping stone was a job at global investment bank Bear Stearns in 1976. 2 months into the job, the company reportedly found out that Epstein had in fact lied on his resume about his education. But the company kept him on. In 1981, Epstein left, or as some say, he was kicked out. In 1988, Epstein founded J. Epstein and Company, a consulting firm that provided money management services to individuals with a net worth of more than $1 billion. One of his main clients for 20 years was retail business tycoon Leslie Wexner. Few years later, in the 1990s, Epstein began running his business from the island of St. Thomas at the US Virgin Islands. Now, Virgin Islands is a tax haven, and Epstein owned 2 islands in that region. The disgraced financier also owned what was then the largest private mansion in Manhattan. He also had properties in Palm Beach, Paris, and New Mexico. But soon enough, his real estate came under the spotlight for far more sinister reasons. March 14, 2005, the day that it all began to unravel. Palm Beach police started investigating Jeffrey Epstein after a report was filed of a 14-year-old girl being allegedly molested. Police interviewed more girls, and many such testimonials got revealed. In October that year, police raided Epstein's home. Video footage taken by the officers shows several pictures and artwork of naked women. There are also photos of Epstein with several important people, businessmen and politicians. In another video, there are more photographs of young women or young girls naked. Epstein is subsequently indicted and faces trial. But his defense team works in overdrive mode to break credibility of all the accusers. In the end, only a 14-year-old's testimony is allowed. On July 19, 2006, a grand jury indicts Epstein of only one charge of felony: solicitation of prostitution. But even that charge does not mention anything about a minor girl. Epstein was arrested, but he only spent one night in jail and got released the next day on a $3,000 bond. Now, 2007 is the year when the gravity of this case shifted. Epstein and the prosecution signed a deal, and the deal was this: Epstein pleads guilty to 2 felony prostitution-related charges. In return, there will be no more prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein, and his co-conspirators are also protected. Epstein also gets registered as a level 3 sex offender. Now, this came to be known as the deal of the century. In January 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty. Instead of facing decades in prison, he is only jailed for 18 months, of which Epstein served 13 months of his sentence at a private wing of the Palm Beach County Jail. He also had several privileges, like leaving on work release 6 days a week for 12 hours a day. By July 2009, his prison sentence is over. Epstein had 1 more year of house arrest to complete, but the sex offender got many privileges again. Authorities allowed Jeffrey Epstein to travel frequently as long as he returned within 24 hours. Now, Epstein is known to have violated his house arrest terms a few times, but the state attorney's office looks the other way. For the next 10 years, there is silence, until one day when Epstein is arrested again. July 6, 2019. Authorities arrest Jeffrey Epstein in New Jersey after he lands from Paris. The prosecutors in New York charge him with sex trafficking related to incidents in Palm Beach and also in New York. But the trial barely sees the light of day. On the morning of August 10, 2019, Epstein is found dead in his prison cell. But the story still does not end. 2 days later, the FBI raided Epstein's US Virgin Islands property and seized several computers. The intent was to keep the investigation going and nab all co-conspirators. To that point, there was suspicion about how Epstein had in fact died. His powerful political and business friends were back under the scanner. In 2023, the Wall Street Journal in fact released a report that Epstein had allegedly tried to extort Bill Gates over his extramarital affair with a Russian bridge player. Now, this once again brought the conversation back on Epstein's methods to sidestep the law and minimize any legal roadblocks. All this by using blackmail. Epstein's web of connections and friends in high places, the very grave accusations and testimonials from victims and old investigators, all of these things still raise a lot of eyebrows. How much did Jeffrey Epstein really know? What is it that the FBI found on Epstein's seized computers many years ago? Who stood to lose the most if Epstein's trial progressed had he been alive? Like many incidents in history involving powerful and influential people, the saga of Jeffrey Epstein and those in his clout will now be talked about as a thing of the past, buried very deep.